ZX6R Kawasaki owners, or just in general the motorcycle community. It's your boy C-Moto. I am back. I just did want to update you guys on a video from my previous intro video with my channel. So if you are interested, there's plenty of channels out there to view and watch and subscribe to. Doesn't cost anything, again, to click that subscribe button and like button, share button if you need to. And of course, if you want to. There's no forcing or anything like that here, but it would truly help me out with my channel if you did subscribe, and that way I will have that feeling to be able to provide you guys with the content that you guys might be looking for, or some extra things out there, and then of course to provide you with information on my bike and my build. I just wanted to update you guys from the previous video, the intro video, where I told you that I did have some upgrades that I did purchase. If you did see the video, if you didn't, please go back and you can check it out, get the intro in on me and the bike, as well as the parts. But on this video, I'm going to show you those parts anyway, so it doesn't matter on that note. But with that said, let me go on and get camera swapped out and swapped over, so then I can show you guys these upgrades. All right, be back in a second. All right, so here's my ZX6R. It is a 2025, as I stated from my last video, but if you're first tuning in to this one, this is a 2025. I did get it back in September, shortly after the recall. So with that said, I did ask them at the time of purchasing, and I got it for like 10-1. I think it was on sale for like 10-1, if I'm correct. But I did ask them about the recall, being that the bike was brand new and in their showroom floor. So I guess they pulled all their bikes, all their bikes off the floor, and they went and checked them all. And then they told me that this one wasn't a problem. That's what they told me. They said this one wasn't an issue. Now, I don't know, when they say it wasn't an issue, did they mean like it wasn't an issue because it hadn't been sold and they were able to get to it before selling it to where it didn't need to be brought back, or if it truly wasn't an issue or part of the recall? So they just told me that it wasn't an issue. They checked them out and it wasn't one that was part of the recall. I do have some different news that I will provide in the next video when it comes to that part, but this more here was just to show you guys the upgrades that I did do. As you can see, I did purchase a Toce exhaust, and then I did purchase some tech spec tank pads that you can see here, and they are a full 5-piece, and they're pretty thick. If I had to say anything, they're nothing thin. I will be providing links for all this stuff in the description of the video if you guys want to check it out. Price wise, a combination of things I got from, of course, Toce, and I believe it was eBay, maybe some Amazon stuff, but just wanted to show you guys the upgrades that I did do to the bike itself. I'm definitely not done yet, but of course, like I said, Toce exhaust, I just like the side profile of it. It is kind of low-key. It's a little different than your average can exhaust, and it seems like everybody kind of copies that. So being that I had a Toce razor tip exhaust on my 2014 R1, and it sounded amazing, but of course that's because the cross-plane engine that it has that made it sound real throaty, and then the exhaust didn't make it any quieter. It was just that much more. So it was an amazing bike, but unfortunately I did have to let it go. I did crack little over 35,000 miles on the bike, and I just didn't want to have to worry about getting a motor or engine, a used one with God knows how many miles on it, and whether you can believe it or trust it or not, unless you're taking it from a bike that's showing me on the odometer. 2014, now you're talking 12 years, so gotta expect there to be some miles on the bike, and it's like the motors are going for anywhere between $2,000 and $4,000, and the brand one was $10,000. So when you do that math, you're talking about $10,000 for a brand new motor, that brand new engine, then it's like, yeah, you got to get a loan for that engine and this and that and da-da-da, and it's just like, is it even worth it at that point? But I did love the bike. I hated to let it go. It was the last bike for the undertail exhaust, so that is the part that I am truly going to miss. And I think it was the best looking R1 even compared to these newer ones, aside of the R1M. But anyways, I went on and let it go. I was waiting to see about the 2026 Yamaha R1, which I knew probably wasn't going to be, at least this year. I know 2025, they weren't going to have it in Europe, the R1. So it was just more a follow-up here, and then that's when I started hearing about a V4 that they were, V4 motor that they were, engine that they were testing out. So I think that's kind of where we're at right now with the R1. I don't believe they would phase that out, and I refuse to believe that the R9 is what's gonna be for the future. There is absolutely no way. You got too many leader bikes out here with power to the 200 to 220 range, horsepower wise, to be talking about the R9 as the new wave. Like, there is absolutely no way, and I did not want to bother with it. Plus, the markups on the R9 was just absolutely ridiculous, and it's just something I didn't want to do. I did not want a 3-cylinder when it came to that, so I did opt in for of course another inline 4, and I felt like Kawasaki's been around a long time. The Ninja itself, nice looking bike. They've came a long way from their looks. If you guys haven't seen it, they've came an absolutely long way. Their bikes were never just like bad, but so I just have my mirrors folded in. But I've always been a fan of their bikes or whatever it is. So anyways, it was something that I just said, you know what, let me just jump on this, get me a bike in between time until the R1 decides to resurface or decide what they're going to do about it. And if they don't, then I'll figure it out from there. I mean, you have other leader prospects out there, Honda, Suzuki. I really don't want to go BMW. It's kind of overrated to me, and very expensive and hit or miss in terms of the reliability, whether the bike will make it or not, or the engine seizes up on you. I just don't want to bother with that. And then Ducati is just a maintenance nightmare and I just like to get on the bikes and ride them. So because I want to put miles on them, generally speaking, I don't want to get a bike that's going to require that kind of maintenance like that and very costly, to where this one is, generally speaking, very simple, or on the more simpler side. So that's why I did end up getting the R6. I could have got this R6, the 6R, ZX6R. Sorry, I've rode nothing but Yamaha's my last 6 bikes. So this is all new for me, giving Kawasaki a try. And of course, these recalls coming out, the time that I decide to give Kawasaki a try. And even then, it is what it is. I mean, I did get an extended warranty on the bike, so I'm not worried about it. And that's a reason that's going to keep me from tuning the bike. I do not want to touch this bike at all, aside of the slip-on, which they said was okay. And worst case, I can put it back on. But like I said, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a brief introduction, something I did previously do in my previous video, if you did want to go back and check it out, before I put these few mods that I did have on it. But again, tank pads, they are 5 pieces, 1, 2. Then you have the center one here, and then obviously on the other side as well. I did include a tender for my charging, for the battery wise when it's sitting up. And then, like I said, they have the Toce exhaust here, which then removes the resonator, or not resonator, the muffler. Removes the muffler itself, and no, it is a resonator. Yeah, it is a resonator. I'm sorry, this is a cat. But the resonator and the muffler itself, I did remove. And like I said, I just like that side profile. It was obviously to remove. You had to remove the can, the big fart can that it was there, and the cables. The servo cables. When I did remove those, just for anybody that is wanting to remove those, and I will explain. I did not get a check engine light. After I did do the install, I did get one initially. That initially when I sorry, lost my train of thought. I did get one initially when I had the servo unplugged, and I went to turn on the key because I was trying to make sure that I set up my brake, my tail light, and my license plate light, and other upgrades that I did do, and I accidentally had my servo unplugged when I turned the key just to the on position. I didn't even start it, and it popped my check engine light. But just like I said, the servo cables, I did unhook them from the muffler itself, and I ran the cables up and out this way. Once you got, and I wish I was able to record it, but it's just hard doing it with one hand. I need a second person, and I really don't have a second person, but there are plenty of videos out there on how to remove the servo cables, or the servo, or put a servo buddy if you want. So it just kind of beating a dead horse at that point. I did wish that I was able to record it, because I like to be informative in terms of installs and showing that I can do them. But again, it's just hard doing it with one hand, and I couldn't find my tripod where I put it up in storage. I couldn't find it. So even then, there's just certain angles and stuff that you wouldn't be able to get from just having it set up as a tripod. So again, that was the muffler there. I think it was like 700 and some change, and it took about 3 weeks to get, as they make them on spot. They don't just have these exhausts sitting around. They may have a few in their warehouse or factory already pre-made, but for the most part, to my understanding, they make it make it to order, which makes sense. That way they're not left with a whole lot of overhead just sitting in their warehouse. So it took about 3 weeks for the exhaust. Now, one thing I do want to mention to you is there was an issue which they did fix, and it was an immediate fix. For some reason on the 25s, the 23 and 24, the exhaust bolts to put the bracket that sits behind here, there's a bracket that sits behind here, and these 2 bolts are the ones that come in, and then there's a bolt on the back, a nut on the back that screws in, so you have to add the bracket there. That's kind of hard to see, but this is it right here, and like I said, it bolts in there, and then they give you bolts. Now for the 24 and the 25 year, to my understanding, something changed over here where something's thicker. So the bolts they originally sent me, they were supposed to send me 2 different pair, a short bolt that they were sending out for the 23s and 24s, and then a longer one for the 25s, just in case, so I would have both of them just for whatever reason. And what happened is they sent me the shorter bolt, so then I thought I was tripping when I was trying to install it. The bolt here was just too short to be able to put the nut on the back. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a nut right there, and this bolt here was just too short. So what they did, so then I called them the next day, and I said, hey, after waiting a few weeks for it, and then to find out that I don't have the right hardware, I thought I was doing something wrong, but I'm like, nah, they can't be. It's got to be the wrong size bolts. I started to source out some bolts myself, and they were pretty hard to come across. And then Toce just said, oh, well, we'll send you the right bolts out, the longer ones, which they did. And they next day aired them. So big ups to Toce. They didn't have to do that. So it probably cost them $15, $20 to next day air. It was just bolts in a little envelope. So who knows? But I would like to assume that it cost at least 15 or 20 bucks. But they did next day air that out to me. And I was set to go, even though I did find some bolts finally out there locally. There was no harm in getting them free. And it just kind of all happened at the same time. Otherwise, I would have stopped them. But that was pretty much the exhaust there. And then what we have back here is I got a smoked tail light, which is probably kind of difficult to see, and I'll turn it on so you can see how it lights up and how it works. And then of course I got my tail tidy that I installed here, and that's just a simple install to remove the big fender or license plate, whatever you want to call it. License plate holder was huge, but I did take it off. I did not, with this one, I do not use any of the parts from the old one. I know there's some out there that allows you to use the parts from, but there was something about this one that I like because it is foldable. I liked it because it is foldable. I can put it out the way, whether it's something about content or show or whatever. I can adjust it, and it's very simple. It's just 2 pieces. There's this piece, and then there's this piece, and then the bolts that then go in, or whatever it is, and you just make them as tight as you need to make sure that this is as tight as you want it to be when you're adjusting it. That way, it's not just something that just stays like this. Sometimes the wheel will bounce and hit it and move it or bring it back. So this way, you can put it out as far as you need to put it out. And again, the smoke tail light that I have here. But let me show you real quick how, oh yeah, I did get some spools to be able to sit the bike up, at least on the rear. And then I have a front lift as well, but let's do this. So Or the hazards, so you can see how that works. I think it came out pretty good. The hazards in there. It is sequential, so there is a setup process that you do have to do once you do install it. Then you have your left. Of course, your right. And then obviously the tail light. And this was all plug and play. There were absolutely no clipping or cutting of wires. It was all plug and play, the stuff that I got, which I generally like to get. I hate having to splice into wires and stuff like that. Let me see. Oh, I forgot to show you the brake light. And this is something that I did present to you. And just to be sure that I got you in my, make sure that I got it in the view. Sorry. So that's the brake light. Let's see there. Kind of gives you a quick few little alerts, just to kind of to show the people. But yeah, that's it when it comes to that part. Let's see. Let me get the key out so I can. Sorry, and this is what I'm talking about, where it's like when you're trying to record. But obviously, if I move my channel and it starts to go in the direction that I want it to go, I will invest in more equipment so I can record better. But this is my caliper lock. But yeah, just to show you, well, that's obviously the wire that I need to plug to my adapter, the red one to connect to the adapter to then, sorry, losing my train of thought, to wipe the engine codes out. So that's just that. But like I was telling you, let me just quick so I can show you. So you have your servo motor here, and then there's one bolt, and then there's two bolts there, and then you're able to pull it out. Now, obviously, the servo cables, they're like the end of bike cables, the brake cables and stuff. They are plugged in here, and it wraps around, and then it goes down through here, and then they find their way on down, and they actually run through this bracket here, and then they swoop on down into the muffler there. So like I said, you unloose it here at the muffler, and then once you get it all loosened up here, then you pull them out. Now, obviously, there's a lot of stuff here that you do have to pop apart and take out. You got these two pins here. You got these two bolts here. You have these two right here. And then there's these two screws right here. And of course, this is stuff that I was just taking off to change my tail light, because it's not as simple as just popping it out from here like that. All this stuff has to come apart, and it's all just bare. Again, I wish I would have recorded it, but I know there's other videos out there that did have this stuff recorded. And so I have my tender connected here. I was able to put the sleeve right back over it. It's always best to protect your positive side of your battery there, your terminal. But yeah, this piece comes off here, and then that's when it's all exposed, and then that's when you're able to go in and get it all pulled out. So the light itself was pretty straightforward. This is a little plug that's inside this hole here. I don't know if you can see that or whatever it is right there. And what you do is you stick a needle in there, and it sets up depending on how you want your lights, since they are sequential. You program them to how you want them to be. And I will show you guys Of course, the link and stuff, like I said, that will set you up for this, but it was absolutely plug and play. They included all the wiring. I think it was like $125. I think it was from Motor Dynamic from on eBay. I don't know if they have a standard website out there, but I got it from eBay. So it just makes it nice and clean where everything's good. Now comes the servo motor. I left it plugged up. Of course, after I cleared the check engine light, because the light did come on, because while I was doing the brake lights, this and that, I was testing it, and I had it unplugged. It popped the check engine light code. What it was supposed to happen is you're supposed to make sure that it was plugged back up. And again, my issue with this is because in videos, they were just saying, do not start the bike. But actually what it is you're not supposed to even turn it to the on position. Like the key needs to be out and off just like it is now. Like, don't turn the bike on, do not power on the bike, including starting. Because then this thing, it works off the on position. It does not work just when you start the bike. So that's where I messed up. As soon as I turned it to the on position to check my brake lights and check my license plate light after hooking everything up to test it before I put everything back together, this thing started to turn, and it was already opening the valve or closing it or testing it. I don't know what it was. And then I was like, oh man. So that's when I realized that I knew I was gonna get a check engine light at that point. So once I did, like I said, I got everything plugged back up, check engine light was there, and then I just bought an Amazon adapter again. There's an adapter that you plug up to OBD2 reader, so that you then can plug up to this red plug here, which then goes to the ECU and will clear the code. It cleared successfully. I've been good. I've taken on a few rides. No check engine light, so I can confirm you can leave this servo in here. Just remove the cables. If you ain't tripping about space to put stuff, this and that, remove the cables, put the servo motor back in here, plug it back up, and just leave it as is, and you do not need a servo buddy. If you're somebody that just needs a whole bunch of space or whatever space you can get, and you're gonna need to get a servo buddy, and they can range from anywhere between $40 to $80 from various places. But I didn't really care about space or whatever it is. All I needed enough to put a little paperwork in here. And even then, even with hooking up my tender and my caliper lock, I'm still able to have that in there or whatever it is. So it does definitely work out. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So the spools, the exhaust, the tail light, and the tail tighty. And that is pretty much that. So I'll get this closed back up because I don't need it open anymore. Of course, the key is that right down there. If you didn't know, for people that don't know, the key is right there in the middle of the picture. It's in the slot there. And then my tender wire, I just have it ran. It just comes out from right below there. If you guys didn't see, that way it's just nice and clean. But that's pretty much it. I probably will be removing my reflectors. Not a big old deal. I mean, it's definitely there for safety, especially the darker the bike. You want to have this stuff or whatever. So that is definitely something that I probably will do just for a cleaner look. And if not, they'll just be there. No big deal. I need to wash this thing because it is a little dirty. I haven't washed it since I got it in September, but also I went through my 1,000 miles on it. I did the break-in, which was like 600 miles, 500 to 600 miles, and that was extremely tough to not go over 6,500 RPM for 500 miles. So I think at 500, that's when I started to bump it up a little bit in terms of the RPMs that they told me not to go over or whatever it is, which I think I just kind of ran it to maybe 7,500, but it was just, like I said, extremely hard. And I think I did the break-in 600 miles. I think I did it in 5 days. And at that time I had a commute to my job that was 80 miles one way. So it was very simple over 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 days tops to get that break-in done real quick, where if you're just locally trying to ride and do 500 miles, it'll take you forever. So at least I had reason to actually get out and ride the bike because it was to go to work. But imagine being on the freeway and only being able to do 60 to 65. Like, it's very difficult. And stay in the right gear without it just over revving. As you stay in a lower gear, it's just revving higher. So then you do have to get in the higher gear to keep it down. But aside of that, that is pretty much it. Just those few things that I did want to show you guys and just kind of explain to you what was what. Like I said, I do have a video about clearing the check engine light along with the adapter that I did buy from Amazon. That was 15 bucks. Very great buy, and it actually allows you to plug it up to multiple bikes. So I definitely would go check that out. In my last video, I had the links in the description for that one, for the clearing the ECU. And I will make sure that I do post it in this one as well. But again, come along with me with this build. This is where I'm at so far. I think the bike is nice and clean now. I wanted to get tank pads just so I can grip better while I'm doing any canyon runs or anything like that. And that way it's just because it's just nice and slippery without it. So I thought it was best, but I think they were like 90 bucks. And then, like I said, the tail light was 125. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was give or take a few bucks. And then the tail tidy, I think, was 30 or 40 bucks from eBay. And again, it is foldable, so that's one thing I do like. It's not just standard the way that most other ones do come, so I do like that. And it did come with the light. Again, everything was plug and play, so if you're looking for something that's very on the more simpler side to install, then please make sure you check that stuff out. But I do have other plans for this bike and other mods that I do want to do. So again, stay tuned. Said it doesn't hurt anything to subscribe to the channel, and you would be helping me out. The more likes, the more subscriptions that I do get from people, as far as being a subscriber, the more I'll be willing to go ahead and produce and make more videos. I know it's kind of the content making motorcycle content is kind of tough out there, and there's always a starting point. But I'm willing to do it if you guys are interested. But I would need to see the likes and subs count go up just to see that there's interest. If there is no interest, then I don't want to waste a whole lot of time recording videos and editing videos, this and that, blah, blah, blah. But I probably will continue to do so. Just, you got to start somewhere. So you can't assume that you're just going to have 1 million subscribers your first couple of videos. So help me out along the way if you guys are interested in being that it is specifically about the Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R. I get it. Everybody's not going to have one of them bikes. So until I get to a point where I have multiple bikes where you start to get into the hundreds of thousands of subscribers, that's for a different time. But this is the start right now, and it'll be the first of many to come in terms of bikes, but this is what I'm working with right now, at least until I hear word on the R1 to figure out what they're going to do with it, because I will be buying it, whatever it is, whether it stays an inline 4 or they go to a V4. That's just been a bike and a brand that I've had zero issues with. So to then come into this bike and have not only 1 or 2, but now 2 recalls, which I will do my next video on come this recall, because I did know about this when I purchased the bike, but just to hear about it being a second recall is just kind of a bummer. By the time that I decided I wanted to get into Kawasaki. But again, amazing bike, even being a 600, very ballsy. This bike has got some balls, so it's definitely one bike that I suggest be more for an experienced rider now. Granted, I started on the 600. I had no problem doing it. I have some smarts when it comes to the way that I think or whatever it is. So you have a lot of people that don't, and they don't know what they're doing or whatever. So it's not to say that you can't start on a 600, but I suggest you don't, being that they have 300s out there and they have 400s out there, and then even down to like a Grom or whatever it is. So there's other options, but I would just definitely say to make sure you take the motorcycle course. Just that way you can at least learn the basic fundamentals of riding before you get on a motorcycle. Of course, you can just go to the DMV and just take the test there, but it's just their simple little circle test and straight out whatever it is that they do, and that's it. But you don't actually learn the hands-on part, which is what the course will do. And I think that course is anywhere between $300 and $400 depending on your age. If you're 18, it's something amount to 21, and after 21 or after 25 years of age, it's like a different cost or something like that. But it will waive your DMV test. I feel it's hard and difficult, especially when you get on a bike that's 600 plus cc's. It's hard to keep it at a low RPM and be able to navigate within their little test area that they have there. Unless you have a little Vespa or a scooter or something like that you can take it, then fine. And that way it'll just be free, the test. I mean, aside of your $35 fee that you pay for your driver's license, for your endorsement, that gets added to your driver's license. You get 3 tests that you can take to the DMV, but I attempted to try it, and when I did, it was years ago, and I had a 1000, and it was just very difficult. The bike's obviously heavier, it's bigger, and even though I knew how to ride, like, it was just more on the difficult side to do. And this was years after I got my permit. I said, you know what, I need to go out and get my endorsement. So I went on and took the course. I think it was like $325, and it was over 2 days. And you learn all the hands-on stuff. Of course, you already had your permit for the written part, and then they give you the waiver, and then they add the endorsement to your license. And of course, having that endorsement added to your license will definitely help you out along the way, because when you have your permit, legally you're not supposed to be out after a certain time, or if it's when the sun goes down or something like that, and then you're not supposed to be on the freeway, then you can't take on any passengers. Like, it's a few things that you're not supposed to do. Now, people do it, of course they do. I did for a while, for some years, until I was like, oh, you know what, let me just go in and do this. And then additionally, if you take the course with your insurance, your insurance can go down, because they know that you've been trained and you took a course or whatever it is. So it helps you out insurance-wise for that part. And then additionally, insurance-wise, they know that you have the endorsement, so your insurance overall ends up being cheaper by a couple of different reasons. Of course, by taking the course, and then obviously having the endorsement, that kind of lets them know, like, at least you're trained, and insurance can be higher depending on how young you are or whatever it is, or if you have any accidents and so on and so forth. So with that said, I will leave you guys at that. Again, like, share, subscribe if you guys are interested in more content, and that's where I'll kind of go off of if I decide I want to record more. But until then, I will continue to do so, but I would just appreciate your support so I can build my channel and see where this takes me. So with that said, outside of these mods that I've done and shown you, until next time, your boy C Moto, you know what it is. Till next time, peace out.